morning, everyone, and welcome to the Proposition 47 Cohort 2 Grantee Orientation. My name is Ricardo Goodrich. I think I've had the chance to email with several of you already. I am a field representative here at the Board of State and Community Corrections, and today I will guide you through our agenda along with the helps of my colleagues. So maybe we'll just kind of start there, and I'll just have the staff introduce themselves. Maybe we'll start at the sign-in table. Just if you could stand and say your name, please. Perfect. Thank you guys so much. And I should also add that throughout the day, you'll also see some additional staff over in that left-hand corner. Please feel free to come by and talk with them. So we'll do a few housekeeping items before we dive into our agenda. At the sign-in table are 4 key fobs for the restroom. They work for both the men's and women's restrooms. Please remember to return them each time. And the restrooms are outside and located to your left. The Wi-Fi password is up here. The Wi-Fi network, I'm sorry. No password is required. Just log in. I know everyone's going to be technology inclined, but I really ask that you be respectful, especially when other folks are talking, and really take the information in. We've put a lot of effort into what we're going to share with you, and we absolutely understand that you can't unplug for the whole day. That would be unreasonable to ask. But if you could just be respectful when you're doing it, that would be greatly appreciated. There are coffee and light refreshments in the rear of the room. Our agenda does include formal breaks for lunch as well as in the afternoon. But if you need to move around, you are more than welcome to do that as well. Okay, so each of you should have a binder. Are you looking for their seats? Up here. Welcome. Perfect. Each of you should have a binder in front of you, and we're going to reference the binder quite a bit today, so don't put it too far. But I always think it's helpful to just give you kind of a sneak preview of kind of how it works to make it more efficient as we get through it. So each section, you'll see it begins with a yellow paper. That will always be your table of contents, so to speak. So that'll give you a sense of what to look for. Within that section, attachments are divided by a pink piece of paper. So again, the format for the most part is the same. I believe there's only 1 or 2 sections that do not include that, but that would be your guide. We want to encourage you, write in the binders, take them back with you, share them with others who are unable to be here today. It'll just make it a little bit more useful. I will kind of preempt the questions and tell you in advance that we will make this information available electronically as well. Again, we recognize that that's valuable for many of you, so we want to make you aware of that. Other things to note, on your table you should each have or find a stack of kind of note paper like this or colored pieces of paper as well. If you have questions or items that we don't get to cover at any point, please do kind of jot those questions down and find the staff. And we'll be happy to either address it at some point today or follow up at a later date if that is the best option. So any logistical questions before we kick off? Great. We'll do our best to keep you on time. It's a beautiful day. Try to get you all in time for lunch. I will say in advance, it's Friday. It's a nice day, and a lot of people will be eating lunch at the same time as you. So if you need to kind of plan ahead for lunch, do that, but be here on time, and you may be rewarded later on in the day. Read between the lines as you like. All right. So without further delay, we're going to kind of kick off today's meeting. So I think we should just start with the basics, which is I think just each give yourself a kind of a round of applause. Let's just kind of start with the very basics. And the reason I want you to applaud, you're so nice, even though why you're clapping for yourselves and you're already doing it, again, great audience. very competitive RFP process, and you guys are one of the select groups of the 23 projects that were selected for funding. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that competitive process looked like. But again, it's just such an honor for us to see so many of you here, and we're excited to hear about all the great programs that you guys are going to share with us in just a little bit. So why have we gathered you here today? At the end of the day, it's Friday. You could be anywhere. Why are you here with us? In short, we want to share some information with you to help your programs run smoothly over the next few years, and also to kind of help you avoid some of the common pitfalls. And along the way, what we'll try to do is to share some effective practices, share some tips, and also we're going to rely on you as well to share with us. So along that, kind of our first activity, nothing too strenuous, want to make sure you have your coffee in you. If you are currently receiving funding from the first Prop 47 cohort, just raise your hand. Great, think you can put your hands down. So I think that's important for us to know, one, so we can acknowledge the folks in the room who are veterans and who've already been through some of what I think some of the new folks are going to go through, but also for some of you that are here for the first time, as well as for the return insights. We're going to assume everyone is starting from kind of baseline. So we won't make assumptions about what people know. Everything will be basic, and we'll kind of build up on it. For those of you, again, who are part of Cohort 1, we hope you still find the information useful. It's been about 2 years since we've last done this, and we've tweaked the PowerPoint, so no one should say, I've already seen that, I remember that. And we've also added in some other elements as well. So again, we hope that for both existing and for new recipients, that will be helpful. Okay, so again, we want to kind of reference our binder. So if you want to follow along on the PowerPoints, in your binder, and I'm going to kind of flip back and forth, but if you want to start with the grant overview section, and then you can follow along in some of the PowerPoints that's there, and as I flip back and forth, I'll just let you know where we are. Perfect. So throughout the day, you're going to see and hear from many of the staff that are listed on the screens behind me at this point. And again, you may have already had contact with some of these individuals as well, just through the contracting process. But for reference, I did want to point out that the staff contact information, if you flip back to the very first tab that says Contact and Descriptions, you can see how to get a hold of all the staff that are there, our emails, our telephone numbers, again, just kind of starting with the really basic stuff. If you keep flipping through that same section right behind it, there's also contact information for you. So the project staff, the financial staff, the day-to-day contacts, and this information is derived from the proposals that each of you submitted. And again, I think some of the common questions that we typically get by the end of the day is, hey, so-and-so said something really insightful. I'd love to follow up with them. Can you share their information? So now you have all of that good stuff there. Please use your powers responsibly. And I will also note, again, still in that contacts and description section, the very last attachment does include brief bios on all of the proposals that have been funded. At your leisure, we absolutely encourage you to read them. Again, we're going to have some brief presentations from each of you on kind of what your programs are, but it really does give you a quick sense of just the unique approaches that folks are taking. Okay, so for just a quick little bit of history on the BSCC. So the BSCC can be traced back to 1944 when it was originally known as the Board of Corrections. And back kind of more historically, especially for those of you that are in the corrections field, the BOC was more so known for its work inspecting adult and juvenile facilities and for certifying the standards for local corrections training. And for a significant period of time, we should also note that the BOC was housed under the then California Department of Corrections. In 2004, it was the first of many name changes that our agency would go under. We were recognized as the California Corrections Standards Authority. And then we had public safety realignment passed in 2012, which brought another name change altogether. And now our more recent name, where we're recognized as the Board of State and Community Corrections. So along with that, through public safety realignment, the BSCC was no longer reporting directly to the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, but instead we report now directly to the governor's office. Now the BSCC does have a board. Our board is comprised of 13 appointees, and they come from the legislature, the judicial, and a few other branches as well. And for the purpose of today, the really kind of high-level role of the board is to provide guidance to staff on the goals and priorities for each year, and that's what we try our best to implement. So there are a couple different divisions and units within the BSCC. And our staff are tasked with a lot of different activities, everything from administering jail construction funding to conducting facility inspections, reviewing and updating correction standards trainings. We have a research unit that does a significant amount of work researching correctional data and analyzing it, as well as grant program data. And then we have the more fabulous division, the Corrections Planning and Grants Program Division, where our team lies. So on the screen are kind of a host of different grants that our agency, at least competitively, are responsible for. There's some other non-competitive funding streams. So I won't go through all of this in great detail, but what I will do is flag for you that in the grants overview section, there is a pretty good description of all of the programs there for you to read. It looks like this. It says updated July 2019. So if you're curious about some of the other grant programs and funding opportunities, that might be a really helpful resource for you. What I will flag for now, though, is our three newer grant programs. So we have an adult reentry grant, a youth reinvestment grant, and a Proposition 64 grant. Our team is working furiously right now to get new funding out to the field. So I would really encourage you, if you haven't already, to please check out our website, and we'll be sure to plug that a little bit later on today. And it will be a great opportunity for you to see some other funding opportunities that might be of interest. Okay, so let's talk about why we're here, which is Prop 47. So what is Prop 47? Again, we'll just do some really high-level overviews. The proposition, kind of at a most basic level, wanted to ensure that prison spending was focused on violent and serious offenses, to maximize alternatives for those non-serious offenses, and really to invest the savings in prevention and support activities. And again, you guys all applied to the RFP, so I know you have this all memorized, and we're just doing a real high-level recap just for my benefit, not for you. So in addition to the proposition itself, shortly thereafter, an assembly bill was passed, AB 1056, and this is where some additional components which made it into the RFP are found. So it speaks to housing components, the need for supportive services, and then I think maybe two of the more really important parts, because I also know that we have some school representation in the room today, is it does allow adults and juveniles to benefit from grant services. And it also specified to the BSCC that the grant should be competitive. As you guys all know, it is not a pass-through grant. So while you all are here to see us talk about the BSCC's portion of the grant funds, it's also important to note that there are two other state agencies who receive funding as well, and that's the California Department of Education and the Victims Claims and Compensation Board. And on the screen, you can see the different duties that they have. But again, we also think it's important whenever there's an opportunity to share with others that there are other funding streams that are available. There's nothing that prevents you from applying to these other funding streams. So if it fits your kind of organization goals, you are more than welcome to follow up on those activities as well. So again, back to the BSCC and thinking about the Proposition 47, maybe Cohort 2 RFP in particular, The intent of the RFP is to provide services for individuals who have mental health needs, substance use disorder needs that could benefit from diversion services and are in the criminal justice system. We are also required to focus on interventions and approaches that reduce recidivism, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as well when we talk about measuring recidivism and what that might mean. So just a quick little history on what our staff have been up to. So although the first RFP was released, I want to say back in 2017, as far back as I want to say late 2015 and then through early 2016, there was a massive outreach to really get a sense of what folks thought were the priorities for the first Prop 47 cohort. And we had about a team of 10 or so folks. We were like the Brady Bunch. I think we had 2 caravans, no exaggeration. And we literally drove down the state soliciting public input. Folks were really passionate about that input, and they gave us some really interesting information. And if you'll indulge, let's see if the videos play. We're going to share with you just a few little snippets. And the audio on the first video may be a little low, so work with me, please.
Leader or OCO. And allow me to present myself real quick. Yeah, I'm an expert when it comes to reentry services. I received my degree from Penn State. Excuse me, I'm dyslexic. The state Penn. I'm formerly incarcerated. But I share that with you for a reason. I want you to see my face and see the face. And imagine the possibilities that people can become productive, contributing members of society and they receive services and programs that would meet them where they at and help them. So when we talk about where the funding should go, a number of organizations here locally, we have been hosting Prop 47 implementation. And we realize, first of all, there's barriers. First of all, to get a rap sheet, to obtain a rap sheet, or to do a live scan, there's a fee associated. I believe everybody should have free access to their rap sheet. If we're serious about community and public safety, I submit to you the public and the community is who? It's what? It's the family unit. We have to make sure we remove every barrier from housing that will stabilize our family units here and throughout the state of California. We definitely want to see more funding allocated toward legal services so folks can receive the help that they need. The spirit of Prop 47, through the voters of California, have indicated that these low-level offenses or offenses that people should they should not be incarcerated for, but they should not be a barrier. So to honor that spirit, we have to allocate more funding towards implementation. The last thing I want to leave you with is this. Keep in mind, Moses, when he was younger, murdered a man. But later on, he became one of the most powerful prophets in the Judeo-Christian Islamic faith. There are a lot of people who have made mistakes. I don't ascribe to this theory of pitting one class of folks against another. I don't believe one group of people are more deserving than. So when we talk about people who commit low-level offenses, we should not pit them against other people who have been convicted of what's considered violent offenses, because there's other conditions associated. So when we talk about criminality, that lead to, that create, in a lot of cases, perpetuate. So thank you very much.
That was our very first meeting. That's how we began our conversation with the community. And again, and this is a fantastic individual and ended up serving in one of our, actually on our first Prop 47 cohort, and I'm going to share 2 more videos with you. But the reason we share this with you is I know on a day like today, and again, absolutely recognizing that many of you have other things that you could be doing, but I think it's really important just to get back to the roots of why we put so much time into this and why we want you here. And we had probably in excess of 300 people show up all throughout California and loudly let us know, what they think was important. And we tried our best to provide that back into the competitive products that you guys have. So again, that's in large part what we wanted, just to share with you just 3 quick little snippets of some of this feedback, maybe 4.
Hello. My name is Terrence Stewart. I represent 2 organizations. I represent Riverside, all of us are none, and I also represent Henry Howard Foundation United for Change stand for ICUs. We are part of the PICO Foundation. I come here to say that the jail expansion should not be the mansion. Saying that I understand that y'all have already spent over $2.2 billion on jail expansion. What I'm saying is that Prop 47 money should go directly to the community, because we already understand that there's already the biggest mental health programs are in the jail, and what we're saying is that the programs for mental health should be outside of the jail so people do not go to jail. That is the need in our community, because our community is dying of not having a proper aid. And this program that's here in San Bernardino, like Climate Change, they can do what they do, they're pretty much evidence-based. We work for programs in Corona called StartOver.Inc., which they out here, they got pretty success stories for some of them even in this crowd right now. So what I'm saying is that it's about community. You know what I mean? I sat down, just like the lady said earlier, our organization made over 35,000 phone calls, home banking. We got over 27,000 people that was promoted, committed, yes, voted yes on Prop 47. So we out here because we feel like as if I'm part of the organization, PICO, which throughout the whole state, we made thousands and thousands and thousands of calls for Prop 47. So we're saying that we should have some type of influence in what's going on in the community, because it's about community building over prison building. It's about, and the jail expansion should not be the mansion. We should be out here in the street, living it up, because we deserve life. You know what I mean? Because what happens is the criminals of today is tomorrow's neighbors. And we ain't even trying to have criminals of today. We're trying to be fixed so they don't go to jail. Because it ain't just affecting me and me just talking or no statistics. It's affecting my family. Everybody that I love with my heart, that are good people. So what we need is community-based program, and we need to invest in people that make it do what they do out here in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Perfect, great. And we'll just do one more. And these public sessions, the first one was in Oakland. That most recent one was in San Bernardino. And this last one that we're going to listen to was in San Diego.
Ryan Rising, representing Underground Scholars Initiative out of City College. Recently released from New Folsom State Prison, August 12th of last year. The counselors up there did nothing for me. They shot me, they asked me if I had an address. I didn't have an address, so they put me down as transient. They gave me $200 at the gate, shot me to your guys' Greyhound station right here downtown. You look to the right, all you see is homeless tents. All right, now I'm transient, so I don't have an address to go to. So you look to the left and you go and you find every drug in the road. I had to spend $91 of my $200 gate fee to get there. So I only had $109 by the time I got there. I ended up at City College. I talked to my pro officer. He put me in a program, Nosotros, and then Nosotros was a little confined for what I was trying to do with my goals. I honestly believe that we need to start investing into education. We need to have colleges within the San Diego area step up and offer a general education plan, an associate's degree to Donovan. We got 3 major prisons right here, and not one college has stepped up to offer the general education associate's degree to these inmates that are in there, and then offer them a way to transfer out to that program out here and finish it up when they get released. There's a lot of inmates coming. We're all getting out, you know what I'm saying? Like the 3 stripes is changing. You got the juvenile thing just changed. So you got guys that are coming out at 35 years old that don't know what to do, and we can't go into job corps anymore. You know what I'm saying? We need to invest in some sort of program that offers trade schools, that offers, you know what I'm saying, that offers us life skills. And we need to have some sort of like pre-release. You know what I'm saying? We're just thrown out. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I didn't know where I was going to live, you know, and it was up to me to make it or just go back to my cell where I was comfortable at, because that's where I spent all my 20s. I'm 32 years old now. I'm trying to get my degree. I'm trying to do things with my life, but you know, I'm handicapped. I'm getting kicked out of my sober living because they only offer 5 months for me. So I'm faced in a month to be back on the streets. You know, what do I do? Where do I go? Who do I turn to? Well, they already gave me my funding for the 5 months. So we need housing. I'm doing things. I'm going for my associate's degree. Like all I need is like we need to invest in us that are doing well, and we need to actually build like we're building USI. We're trying to reach out to guys coming out, and we're trying to build them up. Like, hey, we're here for you. We're a brotherhood now. Let's help each other out. Let's help the sisters that are coming down and the brothers that are coming out. And hey, I'm doing it. I'm getting good grades. Hey, I can help you out at math. And that's what we're trying to develop here at City College with USI. And I believe it's so necessary. It's the homeless population is extreme out here in San Diego. And I bet you if you ran out there and you asked a lot of them, most of them were formerly incarcerated people that have nowhere to go. And now they're sleeping on your guys' sidewalks downtown here. So it's huge, So I believe that's a huge thing that needs to happen. Thank you, Greg.
All right, thank you. Powerful stuff. Again, that's how we started. And again, we don't want to hog the information, so we think it's really important to share with you the really kind of unique perspectives that we had. And those are just the folks that decided to speak. I can't tell you how many emails and letters I received from folks in custody, from folks out of custody, really making passionate arguments about why and what types of services they received. And so again, if our RFP, to bring it full circle, seems a little voluminous, there was a lot of considerations. I certainly acknowledge that it could have been a little slimmer, but as you know and as you can tell, we're also accountable to the people, and so there's a really fine balancing act. So on that note, for the first cohort, this is the what we call Executive Steering Committee, or the body that designed the Proposition 47 RFP, and more so, they also rated and scored the proposals, read all of them. And the gentleman that's got the blue cap on there was the one who spoke very passionately at the very beginning. And so again, we don't shy away from people who have criticism. We want to welcome that. And I think the first cohort was extremely special. As you can see, the membership, description is kind of below, but just a body of people that really firmly believed in this workload, and for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, spent a significant amount of time put together the first RFP. So we built off of that, and this is the second cohort. And the second cohort, which we will reference a little bit later on when we talk about conflicts of interest. But again, this is the body that was tasked with reading and rating proposals. And again, we try to keep that same high-level mix of folks who provided different backgrounds, be it formerly system impacted, mental health experts, housing experts, the whole spectrum to the best of our ability. So what does this mean in terms of kind of the larger picture? So our first cohort, which again, that came out, let's say roughly 2017-ish or so, over $225 million was requested. We were able to fund 23 of those proposals. And as you know, half of you, about 12 of you, were successful and are in this room currently. And approximately $103 million was awarded through that first cohort. And only in California can I be given a hard time because we were told that it wasn't enough money. And it's true, but I can tell you that it was a pretty arduous process. I think we had close to 60 proposals that were submitted in that first round. And every single one of our public session meetings was packed. I think at one meeting, a busload of people from Salinas came up and just sat there the entire time. It was something else, but again, it just speaks to the passion that folks have. For cohort 2, we did see some dips across the board. $194 million was requested. We still ended at the same number, just by chance, not by intention, in terms of 23 proposals being funded. Again, that includes some folks who are receiving funding in both cohort 1 and cohort 2. I do want to make that clear. And we have awarded approximately $96 million through this cohort process. All right, so I'm going to take a break from talking because all you guys are here, and you're not here to just hear me talk all day. I want to hear some things from you. So what we're going to do, and we're going to try to keep this to about 5 to 7 minutes. So I'm looking at you. This one's on you guys. But here's what we're looking for. And again, we put the prompts up for you. But for the most part, I think there are 2 agencies at every table, except for, I think, maybe 2 tables. I think LA and maybe Santa Barbara, maybe the only ones. So if you can, and I'm just going to start from the left, and we'll just kind of snake our way around, and I'll pass the microphone out. Yeah, I know, you got to start somewhere, right? It just happens. But if you can, 1 spokesperson per team, for lack of a better term. Just introduce yourself, your team, tell us the project name, and then just give us a brief description of what your project is. Again, 5 to 7 minutes is kind of what we're shooting for, and that's it. Questions? All right. So everyone on this side, start thinking. I'm just going to hand the mic, and then whoever wants to take it.
Morning. My name is Ken Gallagher. I'm the Research and Evaluation Manager in Contra Costa Behavioral Health. I will be involved with the evaluation and data collection on our grant. With me this morning is Fay Nee, who's our fiscal officer. Our project director has not made it in yet, so I'll do the best I can with our description. Our grant is piggybacking on funds available under AB 1810, and we are going to be serving a population of those who are deemed to be incompetent to stand trial and treating them in a full fidelity forensic assertive community treatment model. I didn't take my full 5 minutes, but I'm going to pass this on. Thank you. Go and doing this.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Debbie Mayer. I'm with Resource Development Associates, and I'm the Evaluation Manager for Alameda County's Prop 47 grant. I'm joined this morning with L.D. Lewis from the Alameda County District Attorney's Office, who is the Diversion Project Liaison for the program, as well as Paul Nichols from Alameda County Behavioral Health, who is our Fiscal Manager. And our program has 4 components, 3 of which are really building on, expanding, supplementing the successes from our first round of Prop 47 funding. All programs are for justice-involved individuals with serious mental illness or SUD needs, and the target population varies slightly across the 4 different components. The first is a mental health intensive case management and treatment program. It provides wraparound support with a multidisciplinary team that includes licensed clinical staff, clinicians, peer case managers who have lived experience both in the criminal justice system as well as behavioral health systems, a nurse, and a housing case manager. And this is a up to 18-month program. The team has a caseload of 80 clients, and it's using a critical time intervention model. So it starts with intensive services and then reduce over time as the client progresses. Our second component is recovery residences. There's 11 recovery residence beds for justice-involved individuals with SUD needs. These are divided across the county. While individuals are in those recovery residence beds, they're also required to participate in leveraged outpatient SUD services. And some of the Prop 47 funding is also going towards the SUD telephone hotline, which is what individuals initially call, receive some standard screening and ASAM assessments and get referrals into different SUD treatment opportunities across the county. Our third component is around housing. There's flexible housing supports for individuals who have either SUD or mental health needs. Up to $5,000 is available per individual, and the support is really flexible. Based on utilization from round 1, we expect a lot of it will be going towards rental assistance, security deposit, and back pay, but it can also be used to bridge clients in transition who need hotel or motel vouchers, go towards utilities and furniture. And then our newest component, which we're excited about, is diversion, and it's a multi-level diversion program for justice-involved individuals with any level of mental illness or SUD needs who have contact with law enforcement and are engaging in misdemeanor criminal conduct. It's going to be, again, multidisciplinary diverse team from staffing that includes a deputy district attorney with clinical specialization. We're going to have a deputy probation officer with a specialized behavioral health caseload, clinicians and social workers, and peer counselors. And through this program, law enforcement agencies will be bringing clients who voluntarily agree to go to a navigation center to receive basic services. They'll get assessments, they'll be working with a team, and then there'll be a few options of either getting deferred charges for the client while they go towards treatment and wraparound services. They might get deflected completely from the criminal justice system or diverted post-charge.
Good morning, everyone. Nason Buchanan, and I'm representing the Los Angeles Mayor's Office Project Impact Team, and we want to thank you for having us. To my right, we have Zeta Datis, who is the Executive Officer for the Mayor's Office of Economic Opportunity. To my left, we have Marvinette Columbus, who is the Program Manager for one of our service providers in Watts, California. Then we also have Melanie Lee, who's an accountant for Project Impact. Project Impact is a program, a one-year program that is focused for those who are on parole or probation or who have been recently incarcerated within a year. We have our services in 4 regions, which is the Watts area, downtown Los Angeles area, South LA, and the San Fernando Valley. And so within those regions, we have what we call our hubs. And so each hub has a PAC team. So not like the Pac-10 for you guys who play sports, but the PAC team spelled P-A-C team. So P stands for Peer Navigator, someone who has lived experience who can make this whole program relatable for someone who's recently been incarcerated and make it all make sense. They administer a risk and needs assessments, one of our best practices for the individual, so we can kind of see if they're going to be low, medium, or high risk to recidivating. As well as kind of knowing any criminogenic areas that we need to focus on, and also giving them some of their strengths. And then the A is for the attorney, who's constantly fighting for our individuals, who we call fellows. You hear me say fellows throughout this. Fighting for our fellows and reducing barriers, and I've seen them work relentlessly. The C is for the counselors, and we all know they come with, I think, an instant stigma, or there's the whole therapy that they have to overcome with each of our fellows. And so I call it like an all-star team. It's like the PAC all-star team. And so with the group working together in these hubs, the fellows can come to one particular location, receive all the services. We are truly blessed to provide those, and truly grateful for the service providers, for the extensive amount of experience that they already brought to the table, even when a contract started. In addition to Cohort 2, since we were blessed to receive Cohort 1, we will be adding another component focused on youth, the transitional age youth coming from a youth correctional facility. These youth will also receive similar services, wraparound services, additional services, similar to Cohort 1, by a contracted service provider that will have 2 life coaches that also have lived experiences that can also mentor these youth. And so we also have a research and data component where we're measuring the successes, where we're constantly having conversations with our research and data team, trying to figure ways we can constantly improve things that we're doing. I'm trying to think, anything else? We good? Cool. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Todd Schirmer from Marin County Health and Human Services. I am a Forensic Division Director in our Behavioral Health Department. With me is Shirley Castaneda, our Assistant CFO. Carrie Coates is our Lead Justice Care Coordinator, and Pat Reyes is our Evaluator. So our program is creatively called Prop 47 Cohort 2. We've been thinking we probably should come up with a more interesting name. So we are going to be building off of the success of our first cohort, in which we provide care coordination services for individuals in the justice system. It's designed as a low-barrier program in which we take referrals from attorneys, judges, and others in the criminal justice system. Our staff then provide referrals to various community resources in an effort to try to reduce recidivism and try to reduce the revolving door of behavioral health clients through our system. For cohort 2, we plan to be adding some housing assistance, some vocational training, in addition to focusing specifically on transitional age youth and non-English speaking individuals.
Hi, I'm Carol Uloa. I'm from Shasta County Probation, and I'm here with Aaron Bertain, who is our fiscal manager for this project, our department. Our program is called the Misdemeanor Community Engagement Program, and it's designed to work with those misdemeanants that continue to cycle through the system with mental health and substance use disorder, as well as homelessness. We're going to be contracting with one of our local CBOs to provide most of the case management, the referrals, all of the treatment that we're going to be providing for these folks. The idea really is to stop that cycle, to try to get people off that track of the continuous public nuisance type of violations, property offenses, and substance abuse that's happening, with also the huge intent of reducing the failures to appear rate for those type of offenses. We have a very large number of failures to appear, so we're trying to connect these people early in the system so that they have people making sure that they get through the court process.
Good morning. Am I holding it close enough? Not great with microphones. My name is Sarah Fletcher. I'm the Adult Division Director at Probation in Santa Cruz County, and I have here with me today our Data Collection Evaluator Representative, Jennifer Anderson Ochoa. We have our Collaborative Courts Manager, Katie Maeda, and our Fiscal Manager at Probation, Melissa Allen. Our project is called CAFES. It's coordinated, I'm always mess it up, so I have to look at it. Coordinated Access for Empowering Success. And really our goal with this project was to have a multi-agency continuum of care, looking at filling in the gaps that we have identified in our county. And the main agencies that we're working with are the District Attorney's Office, the local court, probation, obviously, behavioral health, and then as far as government agencies go, and then the bulk of our funding is going to be going to community-based organizations for the plethora of services for SUD, mental health, and housing and employment support. One of the areas that we're really excited about that starting kind of at the front of our continuum is we're working with our District Attorney's Office to establish additional diversion opportunities, working with the DA and the Public Defender and Behavioral Health on our AB 1810 mental health diversion. We're working with the District Attorney's Office and a local provider on establishing a neighborhood court model to divert low-level offenses from even coming into the criminal justice system. And then for those folks that are already system involved, looking at reducing recidivism by earlier screening and identification of which path to send them down for further assessment and treatment connection earlier in the process. We have a clinician that will be doing in-court screenings rather than having them be assessed a few weeks or a month or so into the court process, have them assessed as early as possible the first time they appear in court, and if possible, and then also utilizing our newly opened Probation Service Center to expand services. Initially, it was started with AB 109 treatment dollars, and this will allow us to expand our population and interventions to those underserved clients with mild to moderate mental health and substance use disorder. So.
Good morning. My name is Gabby Olivares, and I'm from Santa Clara County. I'm the Division Director of all our justice services. And with me here today, I have Ms. Robin Daniel. Morning. Rebecca Lemus.
Vince Robin.
And in the back table, we have Virginia Chin and Michael Waro, who are also with our finance department. So we're very excited to be receiving this grant. What the intention of our grant is to fill gaps. Mainly, our services have been focused on just working with individuals that have mental illness, but through the expansion of this grant, we're actually going to add intensive outpatient services to be able to treat people with substance abuse disorders. We're also adding some transitional housing units. We're also adding a co-occurring treatment component where individuals that have been identified with a mental health and a substance abuse disorder can be treated simultaneously. So that's really big for Santa Clara because most of our services have been separated out, where if you have a mental illness, you have to go to a mental health clinic. If you have a substance abuse disorder, you have to travel across town to a substance abuse program. So we're really excited to start to bring in services and co-locate everything. The other thing is we are going to be adding 50 transitional housing units. So when we are screening and referring and determining that you also have housing needs, we're going to have housing case managers to help you navigate and connect to resources so that you also have a place to live while you're receiving treatment. I think through all the jail diversion work that we've done, that has been one of the biggest criticisms. And we also invite criticism to find out how we can improve our services in Santa Clara. But what we have consistently been told is, you know, I'm more worried about where I'm going to live as opposed to where I'm going to receive services. So you guys really need to couple services and find me a place to live so I have a place to go at night and then I'm ready to be refreshed and go to treatment. The other thing that I think has been constant feedback is we need to find meaningful work for our consumers. So part of this will include job readiness. So when people have stabilized on their medications, have been in treatment for a while, we're going to work with our Reentry Center to connect people to job readiness programs. So we're very excited about this endeavor. It's really opening a lot of new services, and a lot of our referrals will now come from probation. Right now, unfortunately, the way you get services in Santa Clara is either you're releasing out of custody or you're part of our specialty court. Or you walk into our reentry center, but you know, not everybody gets that information. So we're going to get referrals from our district attorney's office, our public defender, and people that are on probation. For whatever reason, they're not connected to the mental health unit in probation, but the probation officer is seeing that maybe you're struggling in life. Maybe you need to talk to a mental health professional. Maybe someone needs to kind of do a further deep dive and an assessment and find out what else is going on with you to be able to connect you to other resources within Santa Clara. And the nice thing is, you know, you don't have to have the AB1 designation. It's going to be more open where it's not specifically tied to a specific funding stream, but it's more an outreach to help people. It's more intervention and prevention work, where most of our work has been focused around jail diversion. You're in jail, how do we divert you from going back? So the nice thing now is, you know, you don't have to have been in jail 12 months ago. You're ready, you need services, we're here to help you. And we also are going to add 2 peer support workers, again, because that lived experience is so important, and they will help you navigate. They will help you kind of to understand this is the first time you know, you've asked for help. Here's what to expect. Here's what I can do to help you, and please lean on me. You know, even if it's something as simple as I need someone to help me to go to court today. I'm nervous about going to court. Or I'm nervous about going to treatment. So that lived experience is really essential to help people navigate our system of care. Thank you.
Stand over here so I can see everybody. I'm Dr. Alice Cleghorne. I'm the Director of Behavioral Wellness for Santa Barbara County. And I'm here today speaking for Santa Barbara, but this is really coming out of the Public Defender's Office. Tracy McCouga, Deepak Budwani are from the Public Defender's Office. Sylvia Bernard is with Good Samaritan. And our David Onek is with Research Development Associates with our evaluation piece. And Jose Josue Sanchez and Ralph Meza are both from our fiscal department and behavioral wellness. The Prop 47 grant for us is really supporting existing collaborations that we've been trying to build and expand to really get early diversion of folks with mental health and substance abuse issues. About 61% of the folks in our local county jail have mental health or substance abuse issues, most of which are in jail for very minor misdemeanor charges. We want to change those numbers. And so the funding with Prop 47 is going to help us by supporting a designated community intervention team with a sheriff's deputy and a mental health clinician going out, intervening with people proactively in the field or responding to field calls that have a mental health component. It's also going to fund a sobering center and step-down housing. We're bringing services together at what we're calling our crisis hub, which is a large county campus, which includes our psychiatric health facility, a crisis stabilization unit, outpatient treatment services. Now it'll have a sobering center. We also have, I'm missing something there. Oh, we're going to have medication-assisted treatment, and the jail is on campus too. So we're trying to bring all these things together to encourage law enforcement to bring folks with mental health and substance abuse issues there first instead of to jail. We're also going to have a component at the jail to try and intercept people early and at pre-arraignment. So we've built a large coalition with all of our criminal justice and treatment partners, and these funds are really going to be used to expand the early opportunities to keep people out of jail.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Michael Huff, and I'm here with the San Francisco Department of Public Health representing our STAR, which is our Supporting Treatment and Reducing Recidivism program. This is my 10th hour on the job, so excuse me. So I have with me today supporting this process, we have Mr. Curtis Penn from our Felton Outpatient Services place. We have Mr. Jeff Drew, who is our fiscal person, and Jessica Burley, who is our evaluator. So I got that far, so I'm actually doing okay. So I want to tell you a little bit about what we are doing. Our goal is to work with individuals with behavioral health needs who have had contact with the criminal justice system and to reduce recidivism and to improve health and housing opportunities of our participants. We have people who are being discharged from our jail, diverted from jail, and or previously diverted and or discharged from our jail system. They come to our Needs Assessment Center, which is we call CASIC, which is nestled in our with probation, and we provide assessment with our behavioral health care technicians who are actually on site. We have the capacity at our high end to refer to SUD treatment through our Salvation Army, and we'll be having 32 beds there. We'll have outpatient through our Felton contract. We have 70 capacity for 70 persons to be helped there, and we have our referral services. One of the things I think is important about our services that we have services Monday through Friday in the first 3 months up until 7 p.m. and up until 10 thereafter to accommodate people who are discharged late at night, or at least as late as night as we go from Monday through Friday. So that's all I know. Thank you very much for letting us be here, and we're really happy to be recipients of the grant. So thank you all.
Took everyone's lead and jumped back here as well. Good morning. My name is Heidi Cisneros, and I'm from Santa Ana Unified School District. I'm the Director of Pupil Support and the Project Director. And I'm here with my team, Dorothy Hinshaw from Fiscal Services, and Rebecca Serna, our evaluator from West Ed, and Melissa Query from our partner, Project Kinship. And so we're really excited to be a part of this grant. We call it Conexiones because the idea here is to connect with some of the populations that we've identified that we haven't been successful in supporting. In our district, we have quite an array of what we consider very effective interventions, reducing the school-to-prison pipeline, but we felt that we had a gap with the population who is dealing with substance abuse or reentry or past offenders. And so, fortunately, we have great partners in our county, And we brought in Project Kinship, who's a nonprofit community-based agency already working with that population. We're bringing them to our schools to create opportunities for substance abuse treatment and counseling and support, as well as reentry services. We brought in another partner who will provide job development and linkages. And so we identified primarily our adoption schools, those alternative schools where a large percentage of the population are higher risk or have been in the juvenile justice system. And then as well as some prevention pieces at some of our comprehensive high schools and intermediates where we know the drug offenses have been the highest in the district, so to speak. And so in addition, the services are also being leveraged with our school-based mental health services, which are provided by school personnel as well as community partners, including our Orange County Healthcare Agency, another partner in the room. And we have an extensive restorative practices program, so students will also be involved in that. And of course, one of the amazing things in this grant is that it does provide that barrier reduction that you were mentioning. And that's another issue. We are a city with deep pockets of poverty. And so often we'd be working with a student, they'd be doing really well, and then they would call us and say, I don't have anywhere to sleep tonight, or my family doesn't have food. And so those are the kind of things we'll be able to support them with a little more because of the wonderful support in this grant. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Nicole Ebrimi-Nukin. I represent the Placer County Cohort 1 and Cohort 2 team. I'm with our Health and Human Services Department, Program Manager in the Adult System of Care. And with me is Nancy Callahan with IDA Consulting, who is our evaluator, Linda Dickinson from our fiscal team, and Dave Cochran with our Probation Department, Program Manager with the Probation Department. As I mentioned, we represent both Cohort 1 and Cohort 2, so we are one of the counties that also have a Cohort 1, and our Cohort 2 is really building on our Cohort 1, which has the intent of using a multidisciplinary team to address the needs and of individuals in Placer County that have involvement with the criminal justice system to reduce recidivism. Our Cohort 1 is focused on a specific age group, 18 to 32, and so we are really excited now with Cohort 2 be able to expand to basically the entire age range for those target population individuals in Placer County. So youth all the way up to the age of way into adulthood. We have found that with Cohort 1, we've been making some really good outcomes, and so we are really excited to be able to expand. Our model is really based on a wraparound approach. We have a multidisciplinary team where we have representatives from our probation department, adult system of care, and then our treatment provider utilizes peers, and we really found, especially utilizing peers with lived experience has been a very, very powerful intervention in our Cohort 1. We have substance use counselors and we have clinicians on the team. We are now specifically adding to our Cohort 2 team also experts with housing coordination and educational vocational needs so that we can really address the comprehensive holistic needs of our individuals. We can really support them to stabilize them in the community and make changes and be able to reduce the risk of recidivism. The way our model works is that we have the probation department be the individual assessing for the risk for individuals that are being referred into our program. And so if probation department determines that this is an individual that meets our criteria and can participate in our program, we then have the treatment team meet, and we start off with a real in-depth assessment that includes a very detailed family mapping. And we really found, too, that the family mapping intervention early on really makes a difference because we focus on addressing what are the supports or the needs for supports for individuals. Because obviously with a long-term goal that while we start off with very intensive services, over the course of our treatment, individuals build those supports in the community. May that be family, may that be somebody else. So eventually they can graduate out of our program. So again, with that, having said that, we start off very intensively with a lot of services. We actually have a 4-phase model where individually after we do that, understanding and assessing the needs, a lot of services, a lot of support. Again, also very much relying on our peers to help with that engagement phase. Then over the course of those phases, individuals build those skills and build that support in the community, and then making it towards the final phase, approaching graduation. So very excited to be here today, very excited about having this opportunity to expand, and looking forward to our work.
Good morning. My name is Stephanie Tanaka. I'm with the Plumas County District Attorney's Office, and with me I have Sherry Johns, our financial department. We have Sean Rahmeyer, our evaluator, and we have Allie Kinney, the director of one of our partner agencies doing our mental health and substance abuse counseling Rethink Industries. We are also a Cohort 1 and Cohort 2 grantee, and we are very excited to be able to be here today. And very similar to Placer County, you know, what we have been able to do with our Cohort 1 is really what we want to do and expand with Cohort 2. So we have, sorry, I'm trying to get out of the sun. Doesn't matter where I go. So if I make funny faces, sorry. So with our Cohort 1, we've really been able to leverage a lot of funds and be able to expand our programming. And as everyone in this room has mentioned, AB 1810 and the needs for being able to address mental illness for that specific population, our Cohort 1 allowed us to really have a foundation to be able to do that. So we're really excited. And with Cohort 1, we were also able to utilize and leverage additional funds to reopen our day reporting center with our partner agency, Rethink Industries. So we're really excited about those opportunities and how those are going to look for our Cohort 2. Our population is any adult 18 or over that comes into contact with the criminal justice system. We have an early screening and identification process that happens in the jail at pretrial release immediately after booking. So when an individual is interviewed for pretrial release, they're right then and there screened for eligibility or entry into Prop 47, which is the name of our grant. It's not very glamorous or creative, but that allows for them to have access to immediate substance abuse counseling, mental health, therapy, housing, transportation, food, you know, just meeting basic needs. So we've been really successful, and what we have learned and what we really hope to expand in Cohort 2 is being able to utilize the family system. What we have identified is our adults that we are treating have children that are also impacting our education system. So we are really trying to figure out and create a multidisciplinary team that not only includes our justice-involved individuals and the people giving them treatment, but also their families and their children in our schools. And so trying to wrap all of those things into our cohort. And we're really excited because in Cohort 1, we learned that our participants really enjoyed our gardening program. They really enjoyed the nutrition. Like all of these things that we just thought were extras that we wanted to give them, we are now incorporating into our programming. So I think that's it.
Hello, my name is Jenny Hudson, and I'm the program director for the Prop 47 grant in Orange County. And we have our team here. We have Mark Remy and Ann Qua. They're our financial folks. And then we have Bryce Peterson, and he's from Urban Institute. I was trying to say Urban Outfitters because he's very stylish, but I have to remind myself it's Urban Institute. And he's our external evaluator. And here we have Mary Vu, and she is the executive director of Project Kinship, which has already been mentioned here before, but they're our contract provider for Cohort 1 and Cohort 2. So in Orange County, what we did is for Cohort 1, I'll just go really briefly, but we had 3 components. The first part was to create some in-reach. We really didn't have a lot of coordinated in-reach, so we developed some positions for that. We also, in Cohort 1, we really didn't have in Orange County a reentry center. And it was a huge gap, to be honest. There wasn't any place for people to go. Oh, and I'm sorry, let me backtrack a little bit. I forgot to talk about the target population. So our target population is really, we kept it very open, and it was 18 years and older, anybody who's been released from jail who identified as having any kind of substance use or mental health issue. And we tried to keep it kind of that mild to moderate level. And the reason for that was because in our system with MHSA and with Drug Medi-Cal, we really have a lot of programs for people who are chronically and persistently mentally ill. We also have a lot of programs for the Drug Medi-Cal, but it was those people that didn't fit into either one of those categories that literally had no place to go coming out of jail. And we found that a lot of those folks were homeless, a lot of those folks had kind of mild to moderate mental health, substance use issues. And again, they really didn't have any place to go, and so they quickly spiraled down and landed in one of those other groups. So that became our target population. So with that, again, we developed the reentry. The other focus on cohort 1 was all of our folks got released in the middle of the night, between 11 o'clock at night and about 3 or 4 in the morning. And again, that was kind of a recipe for disaster, because in the middle of the night, when you're getting out of jail, not very many good things happen, right? And so we contracted with Project Kinship, and they had an amazing team. And of course, we used to say, have a couple of peers on the team. Well, Project Kinship came in and said, well, how about 85% of our workforce is peer-driven? And we were like, that's perfect. That works great. So they had a great team that literally parked outside the jail and inside the intake and release center lobby between the hours of 11 o'clock and 3 in the morning, and really were very, greeted people, tried to link people, provide resources, and provided transportation for people, really created a kind of a safe haven for people in the middle of the night so that they did have an option when they got out. That part has been extremely successful. What we found out, though, in cohort 1 is that not just the mild to moderate folks really engaged during that time, everybody engaged during that time. So now we have Project Kinship, where their actual site, we have all these chronically mentally ill folks, all these Drug Medi-Cal folks, and the mild to moderate folks all coming to Project Kinship because they're engaged. So that's kind of exciting. But that led to our cohort 2 application, which we really tried to focus on. Now, how do we get those folks, now that they're engaged, how do we get those folks linked to the appropriate level of services? And so that's what we're doing with cohort 2. The other thing is really to expand a lot of our housing. We have the Whole Person Care Grant, and we've been able to identify already, use the leverage funds and identify recuperative care beds that are dedicated, again, just for this population, just for the folks coming right out of jail. So Project Kinship has now 10 beds of recuperative care that they can work with just as people are walking out of jail. We also have recovery residences that are now, again, through leverage funding just for Project Kinship.
Hello. My name is Tara Ames, and I'm the project coordinator for Siskiyou County Behavioral Health. I have with me Rose Bullock, our Behavioral Health Fiscal Officer, and Dr. Sue Steiner, who is the director of the Chico State Masters in Social Work program. And we're here today representing our new program, Siskiyou Revive, which is a collaborative program between Siskiyou County Health and Human Services agencies, the Probation's Office, the Sheriff's Office, and community-based mental health providers. So Revive is a supportive housing-focused program for homeless, criminally involved adults with severe mental illness and or substance abuse. The program aims to give individuals the opportunity, the resources, and the advocacy to improve their mental health and SED outcomes, and to reduce or eliminate the actions that cause recidivism through evidence-based practices. And this program comes on board right after our homeless outreach program just started. They just hit the streets on Tuesday. Our mental health diversion program, where we were able to get, we are implementing mental health screenings in our bookings process, so the lawyers will know who is eligible for mental health diversion, and our homeless multidisciplinary team. So we've made about 10 years of progress in 6 months. It's very quick. Our program goals for Revive are to end the cycle of homelessness for the participants, to provide individuals with the tools that they need for successful rehabilitation from the criminal justice system, and to repair the harm caused by crime by transforming offenders through accountability. I do all of the data for behavioral health, and so I'm really excited that we're bringing Chico State on board to do our data and evaluation. That's one less thing that I have to do. And some of the biggest challenges that we have for our program is that Siskiyou County is a frontier county, meaning we have less than 7 people per square mile. We're very resource poor, especially when that comes to housing. When we took a look at our probationers, about 40% of them said that they were homeless. And we really don't have much of a housing stock. So we wanted our funding for our housing to be very flexible and to meet the needs of each individual person. And besides that, this opportunity is probably one of the best things that I've seen that's happened for Siskiyou County. So we are very grateful and excited to be here.
My name is Brendan Phillips with Nevada County. I'm the Housing Resource Manager for Nevada County. It's a new position that really manages homelessness and housing resources across the county. I brought with me Andrea Sexton, Project Coordinator, Tyson Powers, who's our Housing Navigator with our home team, which I'll get into in a second, Allison Dobbins representing our fiscal side of the grant. So Prop 47 for Nevada County. Well, first of all, has everyone been to Nevada County? Do you know where Nevada County is? It's a beautiful town, yeah. So Nevada County is 2 small boroughs, Grass Valley and Nevada City on the western side, and then you drive all the way across a really expansive mountainous area, you get to Truckee, which is our other urban area, and it's so that's really a big swath of land. So we have a very rural community. Fun factoid, Nevada County was one of the last was the last place in the nation where someone was wanted dead or alive, and that was actually 1940. So it wasn't like the Wild West, but it is a Wild West kind of community. And so we have a very distinct, very rural feel to our homeless population. A lot of people who gold pan on the river and, people who spend a lot of time out in the woods. Very, very, very dry right now, so a very dangerous place for fires and things like that. The Nevada County's program is really building on a couple of, I've heard a lot of people talking about expanding capacity of existing things. So we have our home team, which is our homeless outreach and medical engagement team, 7 members, 2 peer support specialists, personal service coordinators, a housing navigator, this gentleman right here, and we also have a registered nurse on the team. So the nurse is a real big innovative add-on because what we're finding is a lot of our folks who are out there, like we can't get them to start talking about substance abuse or mental health treatment unless we can get to that less stigmatized form of care, which is I've got a wound on my arm, I've got an ankle broken, I've got something that we need to address right away that can start the engagement process. So the home team, the Prop 47 funds will add another staff person to our home team who will be embedded with our public defender's office, and they will be the ones referring and catching people coming in through the criminal justice system, and the home team can then help wrap services around that person. The second part of expansion that Prop 47 will do for our county is we have a program called Bridges to Housing, which is our master leasing program. So we have a partner who master leases houses, and we put people who are chronically homeless and on our coordinated entry list, very highly vulnerable, directly into housing. And we work on housing stability and focusing on keeping them on a process of getting their own housing or permanent supportive housing if that's what we need later on down the line. But sort of that interim flexible master leasing program will use Prop 47 funds to add another house for this target population. So that's a second big component of it. I think really Prop 47 is just really going to be our first shot at really working with a segment of our population who, we only have 100,000 people in our county, but we counted 415 people experiencing homelessness, half of whom had been on the street longer than a year or had met all qualification for chronic homelessness, except for they didn't have that plus certified disability component. But we have 34% of our chronic homeless population who do meet that criteria, which is higher than the state average. And of that 34%, a high percentage of them are spending half of their life in jail. And they're doing that just going for drunk in public and minor offenses over and over and over and over and over again. And so we know that this population needs supports outside of our court system. So Prop 47 will help strengthen that support between our criminal justice system and our homeless outreach system and our housing system, and make sure we're getting those people out early and into a better setting. So that's it. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Amy Haynes. I work for Monterey County Behavioral Health, and I am the project director for our grants, Cohort 1 and Cohort 2. Today I have Rose Moreno, who is our day-to-day contact, Michelle Lazzaroni, who does our invoicing, and Dr. Ignacio Navarro, who is with Cal State Monterey Bay and part of our evaluation team. Like others, we are very fortunate to have been both Cohort 1 and Cohort 2 recipients. To talk about 2, I need to talk about 1. We were very broad in what we decided to do. We have a partnership with the Public Defender's Office and one of our community agencies, and they work specifically on reclassification and petitions for dismissal. We opened and operate a sobering center, and we partnered, and with a lot of leveraged funds, our substance abuse treatment provider actually purchased and renovated a very rundown, quite a lot of illegal activity going on at it hotel in one of our most rural parts of our county. And they have now renovated it, and it is up and running as both an outpatient and residential substance use program. We also have an employment specialist partnership that works on placing individuals into employment. And we also have civil legal assistance. And with Cohort 1 Behavioral Health, we did not add any positions. We just use our existing programs that we have. Part of what I think when I say Monterey County, I'm guessing a lot of you thought, oh, Carmel, Pebble Beach, Cannery Row, the aquarium. Our county is actually quite long, and you can drive from Salinas, which is the city seat, for about 80 miles. And through that, we have 125,000 individuals live, so 25% of our population is significantly rural. So what we really wanted to do with our grants was to focus our treatment and programming on our rural part of the county. So one of the things we are very excited about is most of these things are brand new and had never existed in our South County region. So with the new grant, we are continuing everything. We are developing a collaborative court, like many of you, to address AB 1810. And then we're also, with that person, we're going to develop a jail liaison who's going to be going into the jail to start assessments in the jail and linking people from the jail into treatment. I'm guessing many of you have observed, even if you go in and meet someone in jail and say, great, when you get out, come see me in 2 weeks, they don't come. So we're hoping to increase the likelihood of success for linkage. And we are also developing sober living centers at the property where the substance abuse treatment is, and we're going to be using the grant to help fund some of the the deposit and the monthly. And then we're also, our newest large partnership is with Housing Resource Center, and we're going to be bringing on the case management and housing support services, and then also assistance in deposit, rental, and those things. And I think that's everything we're doing. We're a very spread out grant.
Oh, hi. I'm Jamie Larson. I'm with the LA City Attorney's Office. I'm a misdemeanor prosecutor. It's a little weird to be running this grant, but it's really important to us. So I don't know how many prosecutors or defense attorneys or police officers are in the room, but all of us know misdemeanors are weird. They're weird because you can sort of see all sides of the problem all the time. Most of our misdemeanors are things that come out of, they're the type of crime that comes from poverty, the type of crime that comes from mental illness. It's the type of crime that comes from low social investment and lack of opportunity. It's also the type of crime that drives a lot of community complaint and a lot of really frustrated people. It's the kind of stuff that just makes your neighborhood feel bad. So you prosecute a misdemeanor crime, you think this is a great point for intervention. It's not that serious. There's got to be a good solution to come out of this. And we do. Our office tries to do a whole bunch of different misdemeanor projects in court. But the reality is LA is in a really odd position with our custody stuff. So while most misdemeanors are not serious, if you sentence somebody to a year of jail in LA right now, the max they do is about 2 weeks, right? We have to get over 120 days of custody for someone to do 1 day. right? And there's pros and cons to that. It means a lot of people who don't need to be in jail a long time are not in jail a long time. It also means that a courtroom is a really terrible place in LA to intervene for misdemeanors right now. And the response to that has been that all of our diversion opportunities are mostly for felonies. That's really appropriate too, and especially our County of Diversion, our Diversion and Reentry office is doing a lot of great work on the misdemeanors that do remain in custody, and especially on felony work. But there's no successful court-based opportunities for misdemeanors, and we still have a really frustrated community, and we still have a lot of people engaging in misdemeanor behavior that need help. That's the context for the project, right? When we look at this project as prosecutors in my office, what we see is a big cry for these issues, mental health, homelessness, substance dependence, to be treated as public health issues. We also see our police get wrapped up in being the only people who actually get called to respond to a lot of that stuff, which puts them in a tough spot. LA DOOR, we hope, is a model that shifts the responsibility away from police and prosecutors because it's not working. It's not working in LA. It might be working in other places. It's not working in LA. And shift that responsibility into health-based responses. So LA DOOR, diversion, outreach, and opportunities for recovery, is a pre-booking diversion model that relies primarily on outreach done without an escort by law enforcement. So law enforcement is not the tip of our spear. We have a multidisciplinary outreach team that goes to 5 locations, 1 for each day of the week. And what that does structurally for us is ensure consistency, the type of consistency that it takes to build trust with a really complex population. And Ray Zacharias here is our team leader from SSG Project 180. They're one of our county's premier forensic behavioral services provider. They have a staff of 8 case managers who are all from, I'm talking about cohort 1, they're all from the South LA community where we work. A lot of them have a recovery story, an exiting a gang story. Some of our folks are still on parole. They bring a lot to the table in terms of credibility. We have a licensed vocational nurse. I know the medical vulnerability of the population is really significant. We have a substance use specialist and a therapist who can do an in-field assessment and a quick track into emergency psychiatric meds. So the team, the mobile team, is out there in areas where we tend to have a higher density of misdemeanor level offenses that are driven by drugs and homelessness and untreated mental illness. And once this team, this incredible team, convinces people that it might be a good idea to take next steps, which happens over a lot of contacts over a long period of time, we have another partnership with West Angeles Community Development Corporation, and they run our housing for LA DOOR. So we're able to stabilize people in housing, and then through that stabilization, help people access long-term intensive case management services, et cetera. So all of that exists. 85% of our contacts through the project come through that. But we also have pre-booking diversion. So when LAPD does make an arrest for a low-level Prop 47 drug offense, someone on Ray's team is on call 24/7 to respond to the station and pick somebody up before they're booked, which is nice because if you're not booked, it doesn't show up on your rap sheet. If you stay with the project, that arrest never shows up on your record. Layered into all this is a really great relationship with the Public Defender's Office. In our Cohort 2 funds, we're actually paying for a public defender coordinator to help coordinate our field team with access to the Public Defender's Office. If anyone's ever heard of a prosecutor's office paying for a public defender staff person, let me know. But we think that'll be really helpful in coordinating the removal of the legal barriers. Also in our office, we have jurisdictions over outstanding citations and the warrants that come out of those, which can be in the tens of thousands of dollars really quickly. I don't know if you know, but if you don't show up to court on a ticket, eventually that ticket turns into a warrant, and the warrant is a misdemeanor, which my office is supposed to prosecute, which would be a terrible waste of time, right, and energy and all that. We wipe those clean through engagement with LA DOOR, and then people are able to reinstate their driver's licenses, their IDs, and get back on track. So that's the gist. The 50,000-foot goal at the end of the day is that we as a city attorney's office with our police department, who by the way has half the officers of Chicago and New York in the ratio of officers to citizens, we hope that at the end of the day we're able to say, look, criminal justice system is at the end of a very long train, and there are a lot of opportunities to help before. Those opportunities should be handled by health agencies, and we ought to be giving police and prosecutors a break from being so tightly wound up in this problem. I'm not saying that these things aren't crime issues. They are, but especially in Los Angeles, the criminal justice system is not the place to solve this crime issue. So that's the model. Kyle Kirkpatrick is my right-hand man. He's a senior program administrator in the office, and Kelly Tran is our fiscal agent.
Thanks.
Good morning. My name is Jessica Lobanon, and I work with the City of Hayward. Today I'm joined by Alejandro Mora from the City of Hayward as well, Gary Tia from our partner agency, which is Bay Area Community Services, and then Sergeant Chad Oltoff, who's our homeless liaison officer in the city. So in the city, we are leveraging our Prop 47 funds with another state-funded source, the Homeless Emergency Aid Program funds, and we are establishing a navigation center in Hayward. So the navigation center model is to provide immediate shelter with wraparound services for about 6 to 9 months, with the ultimate goal of moving people into permanent housing. So with the Prop 47 funds at the Navigation Center, we will be identifying individuals who are homeless with substance abuse, mental health issues, criminally justice involved, and diverting them into the Navigation Center. In Hayward, almost half of our homeless population is chronically homeless, and so our target population will be individuals who are literally homeless, with almost a majority of them being chronically homeless. The project's intent is really to utilize the position of the law enforcement agency in Hayward to identify individuals who would be candidates for this program and to divert them into the necessary services that they need in order to find success in permanent housing, as well as hopefully deflecting them from the justice system completely and moving them into the appropriate services. We're also looking at partnering with Alameda County, as they spoke about earlier, utilizing their Prop 47 funds to navigate people into housing navigation centers throughout the county. And so potentially doing some type of case conferencing with the district attorney's office, law enforcement, and our community partners, as well as potentially a drop-off site for for Hayward Police Department and the district attorney's office to be able to bring somebody to do that type of de-escalation work, not out in the community, but at a space where it may be more effective for individuals.
I'll try to stand. Sorry. My name is Vanessa Martin, and I'm the director of the Reentry Division at the LA County Office of Diversion and Reentry. I usually have a little bit more pep in my step, unintended. I just was recently injured, so bear with me. I want to start out just by saying thank you so much to our project officers at the Be Scc, Ricardo and Stacy. I'm sure everyone, those of you who are Cohort 1 grantees, had visits from the Be Scc. We just recently had our visit with them, and it's not every day that you look forward to a visit from your project officer. So it was really nice last week, and the general rule is you don't let them go, because when you do, you get injured. So I just left them last week, and I'm in pain. I also want to say this is an awesome room. It's so nice. I'm just so happy to be convened with all the grantees. It's really wonderful to hear about everybody's programs. I've been feverishly writing down ideas. It sounds like everybody is really doing some really interesting, innovative things. So I just appreciate the community that we're in and this beautiful backdrop. I keep looking around at all this artwork, and it's really inspiring. So we are very, very lucky to be both a Cohort 1 and Cohort 2 recipient of the Prop 47 funds. Our project title pretty much says it all, but I'll talk a little bit more about it. It's called the Intensive Case Management Services, Employment Services, Interim Housing, and Civic Engagement for People in the Criminal Justice System. So we're trying to do it all, and we're, again, very fortunate to have these funds. So with our cohort, what we're doing with the funding for Cohort 2 is expanding upon the work that we started in Cohort 1 with our Reentry Intensive Case Management Services program. It's called our ICMS for short, and it's a service navigation program that we now have, I think, almost 30 community-based organizations across LA County implementing the program, and most of whom are employing individuals with lived experience of incarceration. So this is a kind of credible messenger peer navigator program that we're really, really proud to be running. And so the idea with the cohort 2 is to continue that great work that we've started, and also continue some of the interim recovery bridge housing that we started in cohort 1. And Daniela Urbina from my team is a senior manager who's overseeing that piece of our work. So as we all know, housing and employment are the big top two we hear over and over and over again from our clients. And so we're really fortunate with our cohort 2 funding to be able to be expanding our work into the employment realm. And Kate Vacanti from my team is also another senior manager who will be overseeing the employment and training piece of our cohort 2, and also our voter registration and engagement effort. This was kind of born out of a board motion from the LA County Board of Supervisors before the midterm elections to help engage justice involved individuals in voting, and ensuring that they know that they're eligible to vote and registered and getting to the polls. So we started that effort shortly before the midterms, and are grateful to be continuing. That's called LA Free the Vote. We actually came up with our name before the state came up with their name, Free the Vote. I will just on the record for that. But we're very, very glad to be supporting that effort too at the state level. So we have a small portion of the funding from cohort 2 is going to help us with that, and gear up for the 2020 election in LA County. I'm also joined by Julie Rhee, who's our grant fiscal analyst, and we know can't do anything without our fiscal partners, so we're very, very grateful that she's here with us. And Annie Bickerton from MDRC, which is our evaluation firm. They're also partnering with the Council of State Governments. I will just kind of end by saying I think it's no surprise to anybody in this room, just the breadth and scope of the work in LA County. We have referrals literally from every possible institution and individual you can imagine. We are working with our very, very close partners with the LA County Probation, which, as many people might know, there's about 30,000 people on adult felony probation in LA County. So we're trying to get services to as many of them as possible. We're also working with the state CDCR with parole. Again, about 30. I just found this out at a conference last week that about a third of individuals from the state prisons are returning to LA County on parole. So another large population. And then our county jails, which on an average daily night have about 22,000 people. So we're also getting referrals from our county jails, not to mention our city jails, which is another large population. And then probably most importantly, our community-based organizations that are doing a lot of the heavy lift in engaging these individuals. So really grateful to be leading this wonderful team and this work in LA County, and just really proud to be part of this great group. So thank you. I think we're everybody.
Good morning. My name is Christina Miller. I'm the city manager for the city of Corning. And before I begin, does anybody know where Corning is? Okay, good. So we're a very small city, about 2 hours north of Sacramento, about a half an hour north of Chico, and an hour south of Redding, if that gives you any context. We're the olive capital of the world. We also have really high poverty rates, and in the county, we have one of the lowest college attendance rates in the state of California, if not the lowest. So we have a lot of challenges in our community. And so for that reason, I'm very, very grateful to be here, and I'm very grateful that we were funded once again. Our program, I'll start with our original program, was the Restore program within the county, and what we did is we expanded our original program within the city. Within cohort 1, we expanded it to the entire county of Tehama. To provide mental health counseling, case coordination, drug and alcohol counseling, and advocates to work with our youth over the course of a 16-week program. Our project primarily did focus completely on youth, so we worked with 12 to 18-year-olds. What we were challenged with within that original cycle was that we could not provide any services to transitional aged youth. So once those youth became 18, we then had a problem on our hands. And then we also realized that a lot of our youth do not have resources available to them. We also know that 25% of our youth within the Tehama County as a whole are college and career ready at graduation. That means only 75% are not, which is daunting. We also have a high unemployment rate within the state. One of the other challenges we found was that we don't have any or limited options for housing assistance, as many of you also are challenged with, and that many of our youth have little or no job training, soft skills. You're all experiencing the same thing. So within Cohort 2, we decided that we wanted to expand our services to offer just those opportunities. And thanks to our wonderful partners I have here, I have Gary Fortenberry, he's one of our CBOs who runs River Cities Counseling, provides mental health services, case coordination, and he also oversees the advocates for the youth program. I have Michelle Brown here from Empower Tehama, who's going to provide most of the services to the transitional aged youth population. And then I have Miss Mary Brim here, who's my fabulous finance person. And so I'm very grateful for her as well. And so what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to provide services to 12-year-olds all the way up to 26-year-olds to provide housing assistance using a housing first model and housing civil legal services. We will also be able to provide job training and paid internships and also some community college courses to those participating in our program. And so I'm really hoping that through this preventative approach and in coordination, we also received through one of our local tribes $14 million to change the dynamic in our community for our youth. And so we're really hoping that through this prevention approach, when we look 10 years forward, you'll see a different community. And this is all so exciting, and so I'm just so very thankful. I'm sorry, Tom Forbes is our evaluator, and he provides the data that's made all this possible, and I'm really grateful for that as well. And you have one more, I believe, presentation?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Aubrey Ralph. I am the Grants Compliance Manager for my beloved city, City of Compton. City of Compton, small city, 10.2 square miles, roughly 100,000 population. Small city, but there's a high need for these services. Unemployment rate, 17%, which exceeds the county level. Median income is a lot lower, or significantly lower than the county as well. Some of these issues present those risk barriers that the city is focused on addressing. The city has a comprehensive plan to expand economic upward mobility for all residents, and so with that in mind, these BSCC funds are really coming in handy for us. We initiated what we call Project Home. It is focused on housing, mental health, and substance use disorder. We're partnering with Volunteers of America and Shields for Family. They have a skilled team of clinicians, project managers, a strong evaluation team who is doing the work of first creating individualized plans, connecting participants to wraparound services with a primary focus on vocational development and getting direct connections to housing and employment services. So in a nutshell, that's what we're doing. That's our focus. This is our first cohort, so I'm excited to be in the room with you all, and I look forward to staying connected.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having Pasadena Unified School District at the table. I'm Eric Sahakian, Assistant Superintendent for School Support Services. With me is Edward Hubbard, Hebert. I work with him and I botched his last name. How about that? My apologies. He's our fiscal representative. Our program is titled Pasadena Intervention Directional Alternatives. We will be serving and expanding our capacity to effectively meet the needs of 12 to 18-year-olds in the criminal justice system. In 2018, in the city of Pasadena, there were 237 juvenile arrests. 56 of those were related to drug offenses, and 179 were nonviolent misdemeanor crimes. So through this grant, we'll be expanding services, which will include expansion of mental health services, to include art therapy, aggression replacement therapy, as well as cognitive behavioral therapy for identified students, as well as substance abuse outpatient services we've provided to students in need. We'll also be connecting students to Homeboy Industries for pre-employment and work readiness types of supports. With the grant, we'll be also identifying and hiring a counselor to go ahead and be our systems navigator in order to go ahead and provide wraparound services to the juveniles identified as well as to their families. So thank you.
Good morning. My name is Steve Ellis with Corona Norco Unified School District. I'm a director with the school district, and with me today is Sergeant Rick Avila with the Corona Police Department. First of all, I want to say thank you to BSSS or BSCC for funding our proposal, as we're very humbled and blessed by giving this opportunity. What we are going to be implementing is a youth diversion program targeting youth between 12 and 21 years old and addressing the mental health issues and substance abuse issues that we have in our community. We're going to be providing that disorder treatment, housing-related assistance, job skills, placement skills, case management, mentoring, legal consultant to our target population. Our program is going to expand our existing program that we have with the Corona Police Department, the Youth Diversion Team, and also with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, the Youth Accountability Team, by hiring a youth resource officer and contracting with community-based organizations and providing evidence-based interventions to our youth. This program will reduce our juvenile rates, divert juvenile offenders, and reduce the number of juveniles in our correctional institutions. And we're really excited about receiving these funds because we have an extraordinary relationship both with the police department and the sheriff's department. And we're very hopeful and that we're going to see a huge reduction in these youth offenders in our community. Thank you very much.